Friday evening, everyone. You know what that means. It's Facebook Live from the summit of Mount Washington. My name is Francis Taraseiwicz, and I'm a meteorologist and weather observer up here on the summit of Mount Washington. And I'm joined today by a special guest. So, yeah, do you want to introduce yourself? Tell us a little bit about, or first of all, let's start. What's your name?
I'm Ingrid.
All right. And what will you be doing up here on the summit?
I will be one of the fall interns.
Awesome. Where are you coming from?
I'm from North Vermont, and right now I'm living in Portland, Maine.
Cool. And do you have any ideas what your research is? I know I'm giving you like 20 questions right now, like speed round here, but.
I'm considering doing a project looking at extreme precipitation events.
Awesome. Well, excited to have you, of course. What are you most excited about going forward for the next few months?
I think just learning as much as I can and seeing a lot of cool weather.
Awesome. Yeah, well, Ingrid will be here for the fall through November, so she's going to see some really cool stuff. Our average temperature is going to fall well below freezing. I think we'll be in the upper 20s by the time you head out and wrap up your internship. So, yeah, we'll see a lot of rime ice ahead and probably some shoveling as well in between. Looking forward to it.
Yeah, definitely.
Well, thank you very much, and looking forward to the research that you do with us up here on the summit.
For sure.
Awesome. Well, thank you, everyone, for that. That's Ingrid, and she'll be up here again, posting pretty cool pictures on social media. Probably getting really excited every time we have winds above 50 miles per hour. So it's always great to see new faces up here and get that fresh excitement. Not that we're not excited as observers, but for me personally, I think it takes winds above 100 miles per hour for me to get really, really excited these days. But anyways, that aside, and that excitement aside, I also have another announcement this evening. We are actually selling Snowcat t-shirts backed by popular demand. These sales this time around, we'll be selling them through the 23rd or so of September this month. And the proceeds from these sales are going to be going directly to helping students in the rural North Country of New Hampshire actually make their way up here to the summit of Mount Washington on field trips to get to experience the home of the world's worst weather in person. We'll be giving them tours up here, as well as plenty of other educational materials as well. There's 5 different colors. I think my personal favorite right now is the forest green. And there are also 9 different styles. You can get a classic t-shirt, long sleeve t-shirt, hoodie as well. And again, all those proceeds will go directly to helping rural North Country's children get up here to the summit for a field trip. So really good cause there, and really pretty stylish as well. So it's a win-win all around. I'm pretty excited for mine to come in the mail. But yeah, a little bit about that. But I want to change gears now. Lots of announcements today. Thank you all for bearing with me. We've got a lot of weather to talk about. We've got, of course, wintry conditions that are expected later Saturday and especially Sunday. But before we even get there, let's take a look back at the day that has been. And we've had a pretty cool time lapse today, starting here at sunrise. Who wants to behave? So you can see the sunrise. We also notice is this layer of undercast clouds, and that's associated with a nice onshore flow that's sort of spiraling in around high pressure that's remaining over the area, as well as low pressure that's just offshore. And you can see those those low clouds building throughout the day. What you'll also notice as the time lapse continues is that these clouds will kind of gain elevation. That's as the atmospheric boundary layer increases in height. Look at that. We got some clouds forming right near Bald Crag as well throughout the day. Pretty cool stuff. And we see these clouds continuing to stream in. A little bit of downsloping as well, kind of defining the outer edge of those clouds. So this last frame, just before the fog has moved in up here on the summit. So let's exit out of this. Carl, you mind helping me out there? Exit out. Thank you so much. Carl is the best. In terms of other meteorological variables that we track up here on the summit, it's been a pretty calm, beautiful day. Calm before the storm for sure. Wind speeds right now out of the southeast around 10 miles per hour. Again, that onshore flow making its way well inland, even up here in the White Mountains. It's always pretty cool to see that phenomena happen. Temperatures so far, pretty nice. Down to the 40s now as we have some fog starting to settle in. But down to the base, not a bad day for early September, around 66 degrees. Visibility's dropped somewhat to about 3/16 of a mile as fog is definitely starting to envelop the summit as that onshore flow continues to intensify ahead of some really active weather. And yeah, pressure right now, 23.99 inches of mercury. So nice high pressure still predominantly in control. We'll take a look now at the zoomed out water vapor view. And we've got a lot of cool eye candy going on up here if you're a meteorologist. So what you need to know about water vapor, this is looking at water vapor levels in the mid-troposphere, around 18,000 feet or so. These orange colors here are drier areas of drier air, and these dark blue colors and green colors are areas of more moist air where there's clouds and precipitation falling. So we're right here in New England. And boy, are we dodging a bullet right now. We've got a really powerful system that's going to remain offshore. It's going to be a bit subtropical in nature, meaning it's going to have both tropical and extratropical characteristics as it makes its way towards the Canadian Maritimes. Nova Scotia, you're in for quite a storm. And closer to home, we've got some wave action that's going to occur around the storm as the flow comes from the east. So it'll push wave heights up a little bit. You'll have some rough swells and rip currents as well, particularly on the coasts of Maine and Massachusetts, those eastern-facing coastlines. We've got another player here. This is the upper level low, and that's going to be bringing us much colder air. And in between, we've got a bit of a cold front and developing area of low pressure across New York State. And I'm going to talk about in this forecast how these all are going to kind of interact and evolve going forward over the next 48 hours. Taking a look at actual clouds now, and you can see much more clearly that we do indeed have a pretty strong subtropical cyclone off the coast of New England, well off the coast of New England. You can see it's trailing cold front there, so it's definitely not tropical. Tropical systems tend to be a lot more symmetrical, whereas this one is kind of shaped like a comma, more like what you would see with a regular wintertime cyclone. And now to our northwest here across the Great Lakes, you see a lot of pockmarked clouds, popcorn convection we call it. And that's because we've got an upper level low that's spinning away across the northern Great Lakes. And that upper level lows are usually features colder air aloft in the upper levels of the atmosphere. And the surface, it's still summertime, right? We're getting into meteorological fall now technically, but the surface is still pretty warm. It's that difference in temperatures gives us a lot of instability, rising motion in clouds. Decent day for waterspouts as well across the Great Lakes with that feature. We'll zoom in even closer now. We've got Mount Washington right around there. You can actually see the pixel of us. That's pretty cool. But you can see this onshore flow. You've got a tale of two different types of clouds. So you've got these high-level clouds along the outer edges of that gigantic coastal storm that I talked about. But you also have some of these low-level cumulus clouds, and those are the ones we saw on the webcam just a couple of minutes ago. That's that onshore flow pushing in well inland. And right now, yeah, we're kind of socked in the clouds as I'm speaking here. It was a nice day. It was a nice few days while it lasted, but things aren't changing in a hurry. So I want to time out now what's going to be going on over the next couple of days. Of course, I mentioned a cold front, and I mentioned some wintry conditions for the summits and the higher terrain, especially above 5,000 feet coming up over the weekend. So let's time that out for everyone here. We've got our radar reflectivity simulated of the North American mesoscale model. And so we can see that coastal storm spinning away tonight. This is just a couple of hours from now. We can see the cold front gradually taking shape across portions of Canada and western New York. Moving the clock forward overnight, the coastal storm will likely bring some rain shower activity to coastal Maine. Won't really impact much up here on the summit. It could enhance that coastal, or the onshore flow, I should say, and that could enhance some fog. We could have clouds lower and thicken to summit fog. So it could be a pretty foggy night and start the day Saturday. And speaking of Saturday, here we are around lunchtime or so Saturday. We've got a line of showers developing across New York State, and that's associated with the cold front. You can see some embedded yellows in there. There could be some embedded thunderstorms as well as this takes shape. We've got a low pressure developing over across southern Canada, and we'll see that cold front slowly make its way eastward throughout the day Saturday, finally crossing the higher summits just after dark Saturday night. We're thinking between the 8 and 10 p.m. time frame is when that cold front's going to actually pass on through, and we'll see temperatures as a result drop dramatically. Behind the cold front, a little bit of drier, but there's also some moisture very close to the surface, and that moisture is going to be flowing in with a strong northerly and northwesterly wind behind the system. And so what that's going to do is going to allow some upslope precipitation to develop. And that precipitation could fall in the form of snowfall and ice pellets up here on the summit very early Sunday morning. And throughout the day, it could become a bit more scattered in nature before a potential reinforcing round of it arrives for Sunday afternoon. We'll be in a cool, moist flow behind the system that's going to bring that cold front into the region. Taking a look at temperatures, I think probably the most important part of this forecast here. So again, tonight will be another fairly mild night for Mount Washington standards. You can see some warmer temperatures there around 850 millibars with the center of that low pressure. Again, kind of subtropical in nature, interesting stuff. But again, to the west, you can see the sharp cold front, roughly the freezing line. The freezing line will roughly be across southern Canada overnight, and we'll continue the clock. And we'll see that cold front really kind of intensify throughout the day tomorrow. Tomorrow should be a fairly mild day for Mount Washington standards. Temperatures rising into the mid-40s, perhaps even upper 40s as well. We'll have plenty of clouds and fog to contend with. You'll see the cold front, this really sharp line of much cooler air. This is around 7 o'clock tomorrow night, and we'll move the clock forward to around 9 and 10 o'clock. We'll have above freezing air, marginally freezing air moving through for the first half of Saturday night, but then the really cold stuff comes in the wee hours of Sunday morning and Sunday morning itself. So this area of sort of blue-gray blob, this is below freezing air at about 5,000 feet or so. So we expect that freezing line again to fall to around 5,000 feet for Sunday morning. And with continued winds, we'll continue to advect that area throughout the day. So we're not expecting much in the way of improvement above 5,000 feet for the day Sunday. Areas near 5,000 feet could get above freezing, and eventually the summits will get above freezing. That won't be until much later Sunday into Sunday night as the core of this Arctic air mass, not Arctic, but colder air mass, unseasonably cold air mass, pulls away later Sunday into Monday. We'll have some high pressure that will start to build in. So we'll have what's called a non-diurnal temperature range where temperatures will actually increase slightly overnight Sunday night. But again, really the prime time for cold is going to be early Sunday morning through most of the day Sunday, and then things will gradually, and I mean really gradually, improve later Sunday night. So what does this mean for the summits? Likely icy trails above 5,000 feet. We could see some snowfall accumulations up here on the summit, as well as ice pellets, depending upon how much moisture there's around. If there isn't a whole lot of moisture, we won't have a whole lot of time to make big snowflakes or anything like that, so we could have little snow pellets and ice pellets as well throughout the day Sunday. I also want to talk about winds, and so winds will be ramping up throughout the forecast period. Again, I mentioned we dodged a bullet here in New England, and we definitely did. That storm's going to be well off the sea, but you can see how strong those winds are associated with that storm, the 50 to 60 mile per hour range, but thankfully well off the sea, not affecting a whole lot except for some coastal communities with wave action as well. So you can see overnight, we'll be in between systems. We'll kind of be in a sandwich here. We've got a cold front and low pressure developing to the west, and that giant system well off to the south and east. And as we move the clock forward, we'll have a little bit of calming kind of being in between. The pressure gradient will be pretty light, so we expect winds to fall a little bit overnight. Into the first half of Saturday, you would never really know that a cold front was coming, by the way. And anyways, we'll see the second half of Saturday, this sort of area of lower pressure gradients and calmer winds will start to move away, and we'll start to increase our winds. And our winds will start from the south, ahead of the cold front, more southwesterly. You can kind of see this band here of light winds. That is actually the cold front itself. So once that passes through Saturday night, we'll see a dramatic ramp up of our winds up here on the summit from the west between 45 and 60 miles per hour, possibly gusts up to 70 miles per hour for Sunday morning. And then speaking of Sunday, we'll move ahead and we'll see winds increase even further still Sunday morning, gusts likely up to 85 miles per hour, and extremely cold wind chills for this time of year, 5 to 15 degrees above zero or so up here on the summit. So you'll definitely want to hike for winter, or pack for wintertime hiking if you're visiting the White Mountains Sunday. And we'll move the clock forward. We can have a little bit of a lull in the winds Sunday afternoon before another sort of reinforcing area of energy rotating around that low pressure moves through. It increases those winds even more Sunday evening into the overnight. So we'll break it down now. I know I've gone over quite a bit of stuff in my discussion there. Of course, always lots to talk about with the weather, but let's sort of ground it out now and talk about the daily details. For tonight, we'll be in and out of those clouds, that onshore flow continuing. Under mostly cloudy skies, temperatures won't be half bad, mid-40s or so, and winds will be from the south, shifting southwest at 15 to 30, gradually decreasing to 5 to 20 or so as that area of lesser pressure gradients sort of moves overhead. For Saturday, we'll be mostly in the clouds, under mostly cloudy skies, and we'll introduce a chance for afternoon rain showers. Again, it won't be a totally foggy day, but we'll be in and out of patches of fog. Temperatures will be all right, upper 40s or so. Winds will be from the southwest, shifting west at 5 to 20, increasing to 25 to 40 miles per hour. Ahead of that front, you'll definitely feel the winds increase throughout the day, and wind chill values will fall to between 25 and 35 above, especially during the late afternoon as those rain showers and that cold front approaches. And finally, or not finally, Saturday night, this is the good part here. We'll be in the clouds with a slight chance of rain showers, as well as some isolated thunderstorm activity early. There'll also be a slight chance of snow showers a little later, especially after midnight. We're not expecting much in the way of accumulations, but it could coat things up and make them icy, again, especially above 5,000 feet in elevation up here in the presidentials. Lows will fall to around 30. That'll be a bit of a shock to the system for us observers, but also downright dangerous for those unprepared. This is frostbite and hypothermia weather if you're not ready for it, so definitely be aware of that. Winds will be from the west, 25 to 40, increasing to 40 to 55 miles per hour with gusts just shy of hurricane force, likely later Saturday night, 70 miles per hour. Wind chill values will fall to between 5 and 15 above. So again, this is no joke, folks. This is going to be a pretty cold night. And a cold day continues. Sunday will be mostly in the clouds with a chance of snow showers and some sleet pellets if those clouds aren't quite able to get tall enough to produce snow. Temperatures, we're not expecting much in the way of accumulations, but it will be quite icy if you're up on the trails here. So the yak tracks, microspikes, things like that, definitely important. Temperatures will rise in the lower 30s Might just barely crack the freezing mark up here on the summit, but below, likely just getting a couple of degrees above freezing. That's all you need for a relief from icy conditions on some of those trails. Winds will be from the west at 45 to 60 miles per hour, with gusts up to 80 miles per hour in the morning, 35 to 50 miles per hour midday, and then ramping back up to 50 to 70 with gusts up to 85 miles per hour late. A great day to check out our webcam and watch us attempt to do our observations, as the wind will definitely be buffing us around. And yeah, that's why we're up here. So don't feel too bad for us up here on the summit of Mount Washington. And on a more serious note here, wind chill values increasing somewhat, 5 to 15 above, but really only climbing to 10 to 20 above later in the day as those winds slacken during the afternoon. But they'll likely be heading back down Sunday night, even though temperatures will be on the increase somewhat. So yeah, I feel like I've given you folks quite an earful this evening. Again, lots of hazardous weather up here in the higher summits this weekend. You can always check the latest higher summits forecast at mountwashington.org/forecast. We do update that twice a day, and our forecasts go out 48 hours to try our best at predicting the wild and unpredictable weather of the White Mountains. And without further ado, I want to wish you all a happy, safe, and healthy weekend, and I want to thank you also for clicking on to tonight's show.